So how do we make this happen? Well, at the most basic level, we have to start making noise. All of us have to let it be known that we are not voting for Joe Biden, and he will lose because of that. And then we have to start convincing more people to join us. And by convince, I mean whatever it takes. Talking nice, voter shaming, fear mongering, overwhelming everyone with the sheer number of people who are not voting for Biden, whatever it takes. Ideally, this would be like any other political campaign. It should have a name, a website, merchandise, talking points, surrogates, ads, online and on TV, especially on CNN and MSNBC, because ultimately those are the people who need to cave on Biden. Under ideal conditions, there would also be campaign events, like rallies in big arenas. That's not possible though, but there may be workarounds, like virtual events. The campaign should have a name, something bland but grandiose in its phrasing, like the campaign to elect Bernie Sanders or the New Left. Two names I'm going to have to insist not be used are Never Biden and Bernie or Bust. Never Biden is reminiscent of Never Trump, which failed 4 years ago. Despite getting tons of free airtime on the news networks, they couldn't accomplish the one thing that the name said they were going to do. Bernie or Bust just doesn't sound serious. Both names are not serious. They're just hashtags or rallying cries. They don't send the message that there's a serious campaign going on led by serious people, and that's something that the left has always struggled with, creating the impression that we're actually doing something and we're serious about it, and we're not going to just give up when we get a little resistance from the Democrats. Under ideal conditions, the campaign would have centralized leadership, ideally not me. I don't know how to make a website. I assume it's not free. I don't know how to make a campaign ad. I don't think MSNBC is going to invite me on to talk smack about the next FDR. So hopefully someone will take over the campaign, and soon. The big get, of course, would be Senator Bernie Sanders, and he should be the one doing this. He started it, he should finish it. He already has a website, he's rolling in cash, but he's going to have to grow a pair, and so will the people around him. Here's what he should do. He's not going to. He should call a press conference and say the following: I am calling on Joe Biden to drop out of the presidential race. He is not mentally fit to serve. He is in rapid cognitive decline and cannot be trusted with our armed forces or our nuclear arsenal. He is also not equipped from a policy standpoint to deal with the unprecedented public health and economic crises that our country faces right now. Furthermore, his views do not reflect the views of the vast majority of Democratic voters on health care, the environment, a living wage, criminal justice reform, women's rights, immigrants' rights, taxing the rich, and reigning in Wall Street, just to name a few. He is a despicable person, and he is a criminal. Tom Perez, Barack Obama, whoever's running the show at the Democratic Party these days, you need to call Joe Biden and convince him to drop out now. And then you do whatever you have to do with the delegates and the superdelegates, invent a new kind of delegate if you have to, and you make me the nominee. If that does not happen, I will not campaign for Joe Biden. I will explicitly instruct my supporters not to vote for him or any other Democratic candidates who endorse him. I will also stick around for the general election and run as an independent or third-party candidate. And finally, I am sick of promoting the interests of the Democratic Party and getting nothing in return except blame, ridicule, and anti-Semitism. I think I'm just going to start my own party. From now on, I will stand in solidarity with my own supporters. I'm going to fight for them, not Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, who couldn't care less if the Democratic electorate has health care, food, shelter, clean air, clean water, or even the ability to vote. These are the issues that matter to me and to the people of this country. I stand with them, and we are now at war with the Democratic Party. Unless Joe Biden drops out and I am installed as the nominee, and then in November, we will all vote for me, and that will be the end of our long national nightmare. And scene. Can you imagine if Bernie actually went on TV and said that? We'd all cream our pants. Actually, he doesn't even have to make that much effort. All he has to do is send out one tweet, and he can single-handedly torpedo Joe Biden's campaign. One tweet containing one sentence consisting of 5 words. Don't vote for Joe Biden. That's all Bernie has to do, and Biden's done. So while we're waiting on the edge of our seats for that to happen, what else can we do? Well, it would still be best for someone important to step in and take over the campaign. I would love to have someone like Michael Moore. He's very famous. Working class people like him. Middle class people like to watch his movies. He goes on MSNBC. He does seem reluctant to get involved in politics, though, other than as an observer. Nina Turner would be another great option. Mainstream news outlets are willing to have her on. She's a fan favorite on the left. She could become our fearless leader, but she would have to stop stumping for the Democratic Party. She never takes the hint. The Democrats don't like her. They don't want her around. They didn't want her speaking at the convention 4 years ago, or now. Biden didn't want her on his bullshit task forces, but who cares? She's one of us. You know, I'm actually not a huge fan of Nina Turner, but because of her deference to the party, but a lot of people like her. So if she could flip the switch and become ruthless, like right now, that would be great. There are some celebrities who are Bernie supporters. If any of them would like to use their fame and resources to lead the campaign, please do. As long as Susan Sarandon stays out of it. She can't seem to open her mouth without sounding like a Trump supporter. That's not what we're doing. But if someone like Cardi B, for example, gives the order, don't vote for Joe Biden, people are going to listen. If there are any Democratic politicians who have the balls to declare war on the Democratic Party, now's the time. There are progressive members of Congress who endorsed Bernie in the primaries. What are they up to these days? They're not busy legislating anything. I think most of them, in one way or another, have pledged to support their party's nominee, no matter how awful, because Trump. But there is another option, which is to force Biden out and force Bernie in. Another potential pool of campaign leadership is progressive media. Maybe I say this because this is the realm I'm most familiar with. I don't really know who Cardi B is, other than she does something in music and she's famous. But she's not from classic rock, or I'd recognize her. Anyway, somebody like Nomiki Konst. I occasionally watch her videos. She seems very knowledgeable about organizing and campaigning. Unfortunately, I think she may be too far gone. She's such a Democratic Party homer. One of the times when she was on the Majority Report, she went on this weird rant. It was in a video called, "Is Joe Biden Worth Your Vote?" from May 17th of this year. She said, "People have so much anger at the Democratic Party." And there was no end point, right? It was like the primary sort of ended, but didn't, you know? People are mourning, and they're projecting their anger, legitimate anger, at the Democratic Party. But I also think, like, the left media space, we have an obligation, you know, whatever. I'm not going to tell people who to vote for. I think at the end of the day, I just personally can't do that. I can make a case as to why, if you're in a swing state, you should do something different. But I think we in the left media have to be very sensitive of this too. You know, what are we getting out of ripping apart the Democratic Party right now? Listen, we all know the case for why the Democrats are bad. But continuing that argument in the middle of a crisis, you know, you pick your battles at certain times, and that time is over, temporarily. After the election, you want to reform? Get on the ground, start organizing, run for these seats. If you want a third party, build it. But you're going to give all your power to some random Green Party that you haven't, do we know enough about? That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, for all of the values we put into the Democratic Party, and we want them to live up to our values, right? Just to throw your vote out towards the Green Party that you know nothing about, like, what are the standards here? End quote. I mean, in the span of a minute or two, she goes from, "I can't tell you who to vote for," to, "You do not question the Democratic Party." It was like mafia talk. That I don't have a problem with. At least it's ruthless. But using it to defend the Democratic Party, I don't know about that. Also, I mean, like, I'm not a huge fan of the Green Party either, but they do have a website. So I don't think we can count on someone like Nomiki Konst, actually. She's just a Democratic Party surrogate on the Majority Report. Never mind. What about Crystal Ball? I don't know if she wants to be a leader, or if she just wants to be a political analyst who legitimizes the conservative guy on her show. But she is one of the few voices from the left who gets airtime in the mainstream. And she was the very, very first person I heard back in March say don't vote for Joe Biden. Kyle Kulinski and Cenk Uygur have tried to be leaders on the left before. Kyle seems to think he has the ear of the Bernie campaign. He may be delusional, but he is already anti-Biden. That's useful. Cenk Uygur is a really interesting figure in all of this. He's like the biggest Biden supporter ever, but he's also a left-winger, although he is on the very conservative end of the spectrum, and he definitely wants an active role in politics. He's certainly good at raising money, if not actually doing something meaningful with it. The problem with him is that he's not ruthless. He's really just a Democrat. His pet project is getting money out of politics, or at least telling people he's going to, and fundraising off of it. If he actually cared about getting money out of politics, he would have a very different posture toward the Democratic Party. The Republicans are too far gone, and we don't vote for them anyway. But we do have some control over Democrats because left-wingers are reliable Democratic voters. If Cenk were ruthless, he would declare war on the Democratic Party. He would tell his sizable audience, do not vote for any Democrats who take corporate money. It doesn't matter if it's a primary, general election, special election. Do not vote for any of them. And if that means the Democrats start losing elections to Republicans because the progressive vote just wasn't there, then so be it. That's what's known as a consequence. And maybe Democratic candidates will think twice before they take that corporate money next time, because they know they'll lose if they do. If there's a word that means the opposite of ruthless, that's what Cenk Uygur is. But he can redeem himself by becoming our leader. If there are any celebrities, politicians, political activists, or left-wing organizations that would like to step in and take over the campaign to elect Bernie Sanders, do it. Make a website, make t-shirts, make bumper stickers. The first ones could say, don't vote for Joe Biden.